Imagine this. You wake up one morning, the sunlight streaming through your curtains, the world outside alive with the hum of birdsong and the rustle of leaves. But instead of feeling the pull of the day, you reach for your phone. You scroll through Netflix, your thumb flicking past an endless cascade of thumbnails, each one a portal to a world more vivid, more dramatic, more alive than the one you're in. You settle on a show, and within minutes, you're transported. The characters feel like friends, their struggles more urgent than your own, their victories more satisfying. Hours pass, the sunlight fades, the world outside grows quiet. And when you finally pause, you feel it. A hollow ache, a quiet dissatisfaction. The real world feels dull. How did this happen? How did a streaming platform, a collection of pixels and algorithms, become more compelling than the richness of your own life? Why does the glow of a screen feel more real than the warmth of the sun on your skin? This is the paradox of our age. We have more access to stories, experiences, and emotions than any generation in history, yet we feel emptier, more disconnected, more restless. What if Netflix, and the endless stream of content it represents, hasn't just changed how we entertain ourselves, but how we exist? What if it has rewired our brains, subtly shifting our expectations, our desires, even our sense of reality? And what if, in doing so, it has made us hate the very thing we were designed to love, the messy, unpredictable, imperfect beauty of real life? This is not just a question about entertainment, it's a question about identity, about meaning, about what it means to be human in a world that constantly offers us an escape. It's a question that forces us to confront a deeper, more unsettling truth. What happens when the stories we consume become more real to us than the lives we live? But before we can answer that, we must first understand the hidden forces at play, the psychological and philosophical roots of this great rewiring. Because the truth is, this isn't just about Netflix. It's about something far more profound, something that has been quietly shaping us for decades, even centuries. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. To understand why Netflix, or any form of hyper-engaging media, has such a grip on us, we must first confront a fundamental truth about human nature. We are not designed for the world we've created. Our brains evolved in an environment of scarcity, where survival depended on our ability to focus on immediate threats, seek out rewards, and form deep social bonds. But in the modern world, we are drowning in abundance. And Netflix, with its infinite scroll of dopamine-triggering content, has become the ultimate manifestation of this abundance. Psychologically, this creates a paradox. On one hand, we crave novelty. Our brains are wired to seek out new stimuli, to explore, to discover. This is why the next episode autoplays before you've even processed the last one. It's why you can't stop scrolling, even when you're exhausted. Your brain is hooked on the promise of more excitement, more emotion, more meaning. But on the other hand, this constant stimulation comes at a cost. It dulls our sensitivity to the subtler, slower, and more nuanced experiences of real life. Philosophers have long grappled with this tension. Arthur Schopenhauer, the 19th century thinker, argued that human desire is a double-edged sword. We are driven by an insatiable will to consume, to achieve, to possess. But the moment we attain what we desire, it loses its luster. We are left chasing the next thing, trapped in what he called the pendulum of boredom and pain. Netflix, in many ways, is the modern embodiment of this pendulum. It offers us endless desire, but no lasting satisfaction. Carl Jung, the pioneering psychologist, would see this as a crisis of meaning. In his view, the human psyche craves not just stimulation, but significance. We need stories, myths, and symbols to make sense of our lives. But when we outsource this need to external narratives, when we live vicariously through fictional characters, we risk losing touch with our own inner world. We become spectators rather than participants in our own lives. And then there's Jean-Paul Sartre, who warned us about the dangers of bad faith, the act of surrendering our freedom and authenticity to external forces. When we binge watch a series, we are, in a sense, surrendering our agency. We are allowing someone else's story to dictate our emotions, our time, our sense of reality. We become passive consumers rather than active creators. But perhaps the most prescient warning comes from Aldous Huxley, who foresaw a world where we would be enslaved not by force, but by pleasure. In Brave New World, he imagined a society pacified by endless entertainment, where people willingly traded their freedom for distraction. Sound familiar? The problem, then, is not just Netflix. It's the way it taps into our deepest psychological and philosophical vulnerabilities. It exploits our need for novelty, our hunger for meaning, and our fear of boredom. It offers us a world that feels more vivid, more coherent, and more satisfying than our own, but at the cost of our connection to reality. And yet, this is only the beginning, because the consequences of this rewiring go far deeper than we realize. They shape not just how we spend our evenings, but how we see ourselves, how we relate to others, and how we navigate the world. Let's pause for a moment and consider the ripple effects of this rewiring. It's easy to dismiss binge watching as a harmless habit, a guilty pleasure in a world that demands so much of us. But the truth is far more insidious. The more we immerse ourselves in these curated narratives, the more we erode our ability to engage with the raw, unfiltered texture of real life. Think about it. In a Netflix series, every moment is designed to hold your attention. Every scene is meticulously crafted, every line of dialogue purposeful, every emotional beat calculated to keep you hooked. There are no dull moments, no awkward silences, no meaningless detours. Life, on the other hand, is messy. It's unpredictable. It's full of gaps and pauses and moments that don't fit neatly into a 3-act structure. And the more we consume these polished, hyper-engaging stories, the less tolerance we have for life's inherent messiness. This has profound implications for our mental and emotional well-being. Neurologically, our brains are being trained to expect constant stimulation. The dopamine hits we get from cliffhangers, plot twists, and emotional payoffs create a feedback loop that makes real life feel underwhelming. Why bother with the slow, uncertain process of building a real relationship when you can experience the intensity of a fictional romance in just 8 episodes? Why take risks, face failure, or endure discomfort when you can live vicariously through characters who always seem to triumph in the end? But the consequences go even deeper. When we spend hours immersed in these alternate realities, we begin to lose touch with our own. Our sense of time becomes distorted. Minutes blur into hours, days into weekends. Our ability to focus diminishes, fractured by the constant pull of the next episode, the next story, the next hit of stimulation. And perhaps most alarmingly, our capacity for empathy becomes skewed. We cry for fictional characters while scrolling past real-world suffering. We invest in the struggles of people who don't exist, while neglecting the very real struggles of those around us. Culturally, this rewiring is reshaping our collective psyche. We are becoming a society of spectators, addicted to the spectacle of other people's lives while disengaging from our own. Social media exacerbates this, creating a feedback loop where we curate our lives to resemble the very narratives we consume. We chase the illusion of perfection, the promise of a life as seamless and satisfying as a Netflix series. But in doing so, we alienate ourselves from the very things that make life meaningful: connection, vulnerability, and the messy, beautiful process of growth. And here's the cruelest twist of all. The more we escape into these narratives, the more we reinforce the very dissatisfaction we're trying to avoid. We create a self-perpetuating cycle where real life feels increasingly inadequate, driving us back to the screen for another hit of artificial fulfillment. It's a trap, one that's invisible to most of us because it's woven into the fabric of our daily lives. But what if there's a way out? What if we could break free from this cycle, not by rejecting these stories entirely, but by reclaiming our relationship with them? What if the key lies not in escaping reality, but in rediscovering its depth, its richness, its infinite potential for meaning? The first step to breaking free is to recognize the trap for what it is. This isn't about demonizing Netflix or swearing off entertainment altogether. It's about understanding the power these narratives hold over us and reclaiming our agency. It's about shifting from passive consumption to active engagement, not just with the stories we watch, but with the story of our own lives. To do this, we must confront a radical idea. What if boredom is not the enemy? What if those moments of stillness, those gaps in stimulation, are not voids to be filled, but spaces to be explored? Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote, "In the mountains of truth, you never climb in vain." The same could be said of boredom. It is in those quiet, unscripted moments that we often find our deepest insights, our most creative ideas, our truest selves. Start by reintroducing slowness into your life. Resist the urge to fill every spare moment with content. Instead, allow yourself to sit with the discomfort of stillness. Take a walk without headphones. Sit in a cafe and people watch. Let your mind wander. These acts may feel strange at first, even painful, but they are essential. They are the antidote to the constant noise, the first steps toward rewiring your brain to appreciate the subtleties of real life. Next, reclaim your attention. The endless scroll of Netflix and other platforms is designed to fragment your focus, to keep you in a state of perpetual distraction. Fight back by setting boundaries. Choose what you watch intentionally, and when you do, watch with full presence. Resist the autoplay. Pause between episodes to reflect on what you've just experienced. Ask yourself, what did this story evoke in me? How does it connect to my own life? By engaging with content mindfully, you transform it from a passive escape into a tool for self-discovery. But perhaps the most powerful act of rebellion is to become the author of your own story. Viktor Frankl, the Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, wrote, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." This is the essence of breaking free, recognizing that you are not merely a consumer of narratives, but a creator. Your life is not a script to be followed, but a story to be written. Start small. Journal about your day, not as a series of events, but as a narrative with meaning. Reflect on the challenges you've faced, the connections you've made, the moments that moved you. Over time, you'll begin to see your life not as a series of dull, disconnected moments, but as a rich, evolving story, one that is uniquely yours. And finally, reconnect with the physical world. Touch the earth with your hands, feel the wind on your face. Engage in activities that ground you in your body and your senses. Cook a meal from scratch, paint, dance, build something with your hands. These acts remind us that we are not just minds to be entertained, but beings to be experienced. Breaking free is not easy. It requires courage, discipline, and a willingness to sit with discomfort. But the rewards are profound. By reclaiming your attention, your time, and your agency, you begin to rediscover the beauty of real life. not as a pale imitation of the stories we consume, but as something infinitely richer, more complex, and more meaningful. And yet, there is one final truth to uncover, a realization so powerful it redefines everything. Here it is, the heart of the matter, the revelation that changes everything. The stories we consume are not the problem. The problem is the way we use them to avoid ourselves. Netflix and all forms of media are mirrors. They reflect our desires, our fears, our longing for connection and meaning. But when we lose ourselves in these reflections, we forget to look inward. We forget that the most compelling story of all is the one we are living. The ultimate truth is this: real life is not a lesser version of the stories we watch. It is the raw material from which all stories are born. Every moment of joy, every heartbreak, every quiet act of courage. These are the threads that weave the tapestry of human experience. And when we turn away from them, when we trade them for the safety of a screen, we rob ourselves of the very thing that makes life worth living: the ability to feel, to grow, to create. This is not a call to abandon storytelling. Stories are essential. They help us make sense of the world, to see ourselves in others, to imagine new possibilities. But they must serve us, not the other way around. They must inspire us to live more deeply, not distract us from living at all. So, what does it mean to live deeply in a world that constantly pulls us toward the surface? It means embracing the messiness, the uncertainty, the imperfection. It means finding beauty in the mundane, meaning in the ordinary. It means recognizing that the most profound moments often come unscripted, a conversation that stretches into the night, a sunset that stops you in your tracks, a quiet realization that changes everything. It also means reclaiming your role as the protagonist of your own life. You are not a side character in someone else's story. You are the hero of your own journey, with all its twists and turns, its triumphs and failures. And while you may not have a team of writers crafting your dialogue or a director framing your shots, you have something far more powerful: the ability to choose, to act, to create. As you step away from the screen and into the world, remember this: the stories you consume are not an escape from reality. They are an invitation to engage with it more fully. They are a reminder that life, in all its chaos and beauty, is the greatest story ever told. And you, yes, you, are an essential part of it. So, the next time you feel the pull of the screen, pause. Ask yourself, what am I avoiding? What am I seeking? And then, take a step, not into someone else's story, but into your own. Because the truth is, no matter how compelling the narrative, no matter how vivid the world, it will never compare to the richness of the life you're living right now. And that, perhaps, is the most revolutionary realization of all.